Good morning, everyone. We're getting ready to start the webinar in a second. We're just giving everyone a chance to get on, but we'll start shortly in the next minute or so. Okay. So good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us this morning. I hope everyone's enjoying the lovely weather at the moment. I'll get off started with the intro and kick the webinar off. So my name is Seb. I'm an account director at Agile Solutions, and I'm fortunate enough to be joined today by Anthony Smith from JLL and Stephen from Informatica. We've been working with JLL for the past 4 years and had a relationship with Informatica for the last 14 years. And we thought it would be a good idea to talk about some of the work that all three organizations are doing around cloud migration, taking a cloud-first approach, etc. So within our webinar tool, we have the option for you guys to ask us any questions that you'd like to. So if you see what that is, if you ask any questions throughout the sessions, we will take a break between each section and answer them as we go through. And I'll talk you through a little bit of the agenda. So I don't want to steal everyone's thunder and do their instructions. I'll allow them to introduce themselves, but there's 3 components to what we're going to be talking about today. So Anthony from JLL is going to be talking about their cloud-first approach and their experience with utilizing tools like Informatica Cloud to connect on-premise and cloud applications together. Stephen's going to be talking about Informatica Cloud as a tooling and technology, and I'm going to be talking about how do you actually execute this. So if you've got the approach that you want to take and you've got the tooling in place, how do we actually go about delivering this and getting to that future state? So Anthony, if you're there, I'm going to hand over to you now to talk a little bit about your experience at JLL and your cloud-first approach.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining the webinar. I hope everyone can see my screen. My name is Anthony Smith. I work for JLL in the EMEA Technology Data and Information Management Division, and my role is as a head of technology solutions, and I own the relationship we have with Informatica Agile Solutions and a lot of the data platforms and applications that we have implemented on our journey to the cloud. So who are JLL? Apologies if I'm telling you something you already know, but JLL is a global professional services firm that specializes in real estate and investment management. We're a Fortune 500 company headquartered out of Chicago, listed on the NASDAQ. We have over 300 corporate offices globally, 80,000 employees, from people that perform a facilities management function, so they may be cleaners, receptionists, your traditional man in a van that will go out and fix problems in buildings, to our CEO and brokers, people brokering capital markets transactions on really large buildings in major cities. $6.8 billion worth of revenue. We have 4.4 billion square foot of property under management, and we process over $145 billion worth of transactions on behalf of clients. So when we manage our properties and we sell properties, we transact on clients for clients. So what is our challenge? So this is very much a data-focused challenge that we have, and that we're trying to embrace on a global level. So we have JLL has grown up through acquisition, so we're an acquisitorial organization. So as a result of that, we have hundreds of applications across 50 plus business lines in every country. Each business line has different needs, and we need to establish how we derive client value from so much information, and how do we ensure that that information is owned and governed by the right people. So corporately, we have a cloud-first approach. When I talk to the people in my team, I prefer the term "why not cloud," because I feel cloud-first implies that you're going to do cloud irrespective, whereas a "why not cloud" approach is a bit more thoughtful, and we say, let's find a reason why we wouldn't use it, and if there aren't any reasons why we wouldn't use it, then let's go for cloud. And we have a mixture of legacy on-prem platforms and business processes, as well as cloud-based digital business processes and platforms. We're also trying to drive through innovation and meet the challenge of the changing corporate real estate market. And we're definitely in an industry that's undergoing a bit late the digital revolution, but it's definitely ongoing. So I know there's fintech and various other something tech descriptions, but there's definitely prop tech is a growing industry and is attracting millions of dollars globally. So JLL has introduced a partner organization called JLL Spark, which is a Silicon Valley-led innovation hub, and it's just been announced and given a $100 million venture capital fund to invest in prop tech initiatives and startups globally. And JLL works under the assumption that disruption is coming. So we have to be ahead of the game and build, buy, or invest or acquire in order to meet those challenges. And we also are a professional services organization. So we have to meet the needs of the clients and drive those clients' needs. And clients are expecting agility, they're expecting flexibility, they're expecting security as a standard, and cloud and the migration to the cloud is a natural progression of us trying to drive that agility and move away from legacy processes and legacy platforms to more agile and useful platforms for our clients. Historically, some of our clients are banks and investment funds, etc., have been concerned about the migration to the cloud. That's evaporating now rapidly, and often, if used correctly, the cloud actually provides capabilities that you don't have on premise. And our global CEO has come out and said that we are a data company that specializes in corporate real estate. It was originally a tech company, but we've progressed that to being a data company, and it's data that's going to be our differentiator. And in order to process that data and make best use of it, we need to be in the cloud. So JLL's cloud progression and a bit more focus around the purpose of the webinar. So predominantly we run on-prem architecture. We have multiple data centers globally, lots of things on premise, including CRM systems, finance systems, back office HR systems, as well as the client value corporate real estate or real estate property systems that provide our differentiation. So we recognized in 2015 that as part of our cloud journey, we needed to manage and get best value out of our hybrid architecture, so our mix of on-prem and cloud. So we undertook an RFP with the iPaaS Gartner Magic Quadrant, basically, and we selected Informatica Cloud Services, as it was at the time, to be the tool in which we use to link our systems and move our data and make sure the data is in the right place at the right time, seen by the right people. But while it's in transition and getting to where it needs to be governed, understood, and controlled and secured. So we felt that Informatica Cloud at the time was the right solution for us, and lots of investment over those over the last 3-4 years has shown how the product has progressed. So we're definitely with that. After we did the iPaaS RFP and we selected that tool, organizationally we had an on-premise global Dynamics system, which we migrated out to the cloud, so part of our 365 tenant globally. So we used Informatica Cloud to connect up all those legacy connections to on-prem and migrate those out to the cloud. We now work with a lot more API first and API focused SaaS providers. We also have a couple of installations of Salesforce for some of our global business lines. And we've introduced more Dynamics instances for different countries to meet their individual market needs and business processes. And we're just connecting more and more up through the Informatica Cloud platform, both in traditional batch ETL mode, as well as real-time integrations using the Informatica Cloud real-time product. Informatica Cloud Services and the cloud-first approach, or why not cloud approach, has been adopted globally by JLL, and it's being used by the 3 different regions. And whilst the usage is increasing, we're actually managing, as part of global consolidation of applications, to reduce the actual number of endpoints, but people are still getting the value out of it. So we're increasing the number of users and the number of processes that we build in Informatica Cloud, but we're actually enabling application rationalization through this and making that less painful and more seamless to the organization. I just put a little note on here around some batch loads from SaaS applications. Make sure that your vendors support your planned architecture, and we can talk through some of that at the end. But if you have a batch plan or a plan to use batch ETL and you're connecting to cloud vendors, make sure their APIs support batch ETL and you're not making 1 million calls to return 1,000 records, which we got bit on a few times. So yeah, that would be that note there. So JLL's organization don't just use Informatica Cloud Services. Informatica is the engine around JLL's data strategy globally. So we've been using Informatica in general for over 5 years. We use traditional on-premise Power Center to move data and transform it, and we use Informatica Cloud to do the same things. And we're progressing for a program of migrating some of those on-premise integrations to the cloud, to use Informatica Cloud. So using the architecture of Informatica Cloud to perform both on-prem to on-prem, cloud to cloud, and cloud to on-prem integrations. We also use MDM to master our client and property data to support insights and link the disparate applications together. We use Informatica Data Quality and Data Analysts as part of work streams with Address Doctor providing some real-time data. And ICS and ICRT allows us to move data around in real time between on-premise cloud and between various different environments. So just a quick overview of our architecture. So within the Informatica Cloud, or as it's now known, Intelligent Informatica Cloud Services, or IICS, all of the metadata about your transformations and the processes that you're building are stored in Informatica Cloud. We've taken the approach of having our secure agents installed within our DMZ or in our firewall, and we use it to link out to multiple applications, whether it's mobile apps, Salesforce, HD Insights, our online markets platform, or a commercial real estate version of like a Rightmove or a Zoopla, for example. We use it for Eloqua and marketing automation, CRM Online, Office 365, and multiple other real estate specific endpoints that we connect to. And then on-premise, we have our PeopleSoft and Finance, we have our HR, etc. And all of those are going through Informatica Cloud or Power Center. In total, we have 4 secure agents globally. So we have a secure agent hosted in our UK data center, 1 based in our mainland Europe data center, and we have 2 in our Americas to process the data. They're all internal to JLL, hosted in the DMZ, with specific firewall rules opened through the firewall and back onto our network. We could have switched on high availability and connected the secure agents up, but we made a conscious decision to have a manual failover process rather than automate that. But that's just not due to the capability of the tool, but just a conscious decision that for failover and problems, we would do a manual failover of the process because it's a relatively straightforward thing to do within the platform. But we haven't had any failures or any failovers, so that's a good story too. But that's the end of my presentation. Does anybody have any questions? Has anybody raised any questions, Seb?
Hi there, Anthony. Thank you for going through that. Really appreciative. I can't see any question, but just as a reminder, guys, for some of you that joined a little bit later, within our tool, you can ask a question. So if you want to ask any questions for Anthony, just pop them up and we'll pick them up. But I'll hand over now to Stephen, who will give you guys a bit more of an insight about Informatica Cloud and some of the tooling and their approach to multi-cloud and connecting all together.
Thanks for that, Seb, and thanks, Anthony, for your presentation. Hopefully you can hear me okay and see my screen.
Yep.
Great. So the title of my presentation is iPaaS for a multi-cloud and hybrid world, and that's an integration platform as a service. Just a brief introduction. So my name is Stephen Davis. I'm a solutions consultant at Informatica, and I work closely with our channel partners. Briefly about Informatica, for those who don't know, we're the leader in enterprise cloud data management, and we've been in this space for 25 years. We started our cloud offering at around about the same time that Salesforce did, so it's pretty well developed, as you probably noticed from Anthony's presentation. Also, this year is a really big year for Informatica in that we've launched a completely new architecture for our cloud offering, and this is a huge change for Informatica, a huge investment we really see this as the future of the company, that all of our products will be based in the cloud and will be accessible through our cloud platform. So if I just go to the next slide then. So what we're seeing at Informatica is this shift, of a generational market shift, we're calling it, across all these different areas. So there's multiple clouds out there, software as a service, platform as a service, and so on these different analytics tools, applications, databases, compute, storage. It's all moving to the cloud. So there's no doubt about it that this is well underway, and you've just got to look at the likes of Amazon Web Services, Microsoft Azure, the success that they're having, and the success their customers are realizing to see, this is definitely the way forward. So customers aren't making the switch to a cloud though, with pressing a button and immediately switching everything to the cloud. As you can see from Anthony's presentation, they're doing this in stages. They want to see business benefits in those stages. Of course, like new applications, they will look for, if they're a cloud first or a why not cloud type organization, they're going to look for cloud first, and then if they go for a new application. So if we look at the challenges, the data challenges that arise in a in this sort of multi-cloud hybrid world. As I mentioned, you've got companies like Amazon with Amazon Web Services, Microsoft Azure, Google Cloud Platform, Salesforce. So they all have their own tools and approaches. Typically, customers don't want to get locked in by a single cloud provider. And with data management, so when you've got multiple clouds, and it really, just like they can become silos, so they can actually amplify the challenges when you have multiple clouds. And the challenge is really to integrate business processes that span the different clouds that are out there. So enterprises want the greater flexibility, so they can deploy the mix of clouds that they wish, the different cloud platforms. But the interoperability issues must be addressed, and they need to manage and share workloads between these different clouds. There's also private and public clouds, and a whole range of different configurations. And then, but also let's not forget the traditional on-premises applications that organizations have. And Anthony mentioned that JLL uses a lot of Informatica's tooling, the on-premise tooling. That's really where we got a huge track record in that area. So that's really, I would say, one of the differentiators with Informatica is we have this ability to work with the on-premise applications, can be like DB2 and mainframe applications, and also the very latest cloud ecosystems like Microsoft Azure and Amazon Web Services and Google Cloud Platform. So current solutions then are siloed, we would say, and you need a different approach. And with iPaaS today, with integration platform as a service today, that can also be siloed. So there's a cloud data integration approaches, there's this sort of API, cloud application integration approach, connectivity, API management. So really, what we would say is the current iPaaS solutions are fragmented and hard to scale. And they don't provide the end-to-end cloud data management that customers need. There's also an explosion of APIs and applications, and they just need to have better integrations between them. So a lot of the newer the sort of market entrants that you see in the sort of integration space, they don't have the track record that Informatica has in connecting to the 25 years we've spent developing the connectors to all these different on-premises applications and cloud applications, and it's a huge investment and a huge advantage that we have and our customers have. So we would say that you need a future-proof data foundation for your enterprise, and that's any integration pattern. So it could be I think that should be streaming, not steaming. Data streaming. It could be IoT. It could be real time or more sort of traditional batch moving of records. Dealing with APIs, that sort of method of integration, and handling business processes. Also, any user. So not just IT. How about the business users and having that self-service so that they can also build their integration patterns using a web-based interface, using wizards to guide them through the process. So that's something that Informatica is really strong in, actually, and we've developed our business user interfaces over a decade, focusing on providing tools to enable the business users to carry out their tasks. And also any data. So I mentioned, whether it's cloud, on-premises, IoT, big data, being able to handle all of those different data types. So from the start, Informatica is famous, if you like, for managing metadata and having a metadata approach from when the company was started. So this is really distilling the essence from the data and treating that in a special way, curating that, managing that, and being able to leverage that with all the different tool sets that we have within Informatica. And we have machine learning, or we're calling it artificial intelligence, built into our products. So that the idea here is that we automate the data management processes wherever possible. So it's more like a sort of, imagine like a Lego bricks approach when you're building solutions, rather than doing hand coding and having to start reinvent the wheel constantly. A lot of the tasks in data management are pretty common, and you can automate those. And having this hybrid approach that works on premise and in the cloud, with all the broad connectivity, the secure and trusted platform is what we have. And here's some figures that we updated, I think, a couple of months ago, and these are changing rapidly. But Informatica is the market leader in the integration platform as a service space, according to Gartner, by quite a long way, actually. You can see some of the statistics there around the amount of integrations that we're handling per day, the number of connectors we have, the growth of the API transactions, and so on. So Anthony demonstrated or explained his architecture. Just to the sort of high level show how our cloud platform works. You could have your corporate network there on the left-hand side. Informatica Cloud is there in the top right. There's also a bunch of cloud applications that sit out there. And the way it works is we have this engine called a secure agent that would sit on your corporate network behind the firewall. And this is what actually moves the data. So it's quite important to mention that no data actually goes to Informatica Cloud. It's just the metadata. So it's the configuration information that's handled by the cloud, by Informatica Cloud. And all the data movement occurs under your control, so within your network, or the secure agent could also be run on, for instance, Amazon Web Services or on Azure, but that would still be within your control. So just to make that point. And then the metadata said will be communicated between Informatica Cloud and the secure agent, and the data itself stays within the boundaries that you specify. The secure agent has all the connectivity that we've developed over the last 25 years to whatever applications in the cloud or on premise. So it will do that. It will make those connections and do that data movement. Another thing to mention is that the secure agent is automatically updated by Informatica. So there's no downtime, there's no effort required from your IT department to manage this environment. This is quite a big change, actually, from the traditional approach of Informatica with our on-premise products, which you do have to have fairly careful planning about how you do the upgrades, and make sure that you do regression testing and so on for your jobs. But with the approach in the cloud, we've adopted the cloud model, and our secure agent is automatically upgraded. If you require additional functionality, that will just be downloaded and be made available. Our cloud platform itself is maintained by Informatica, so you don't do anything there. You're just accessing that as a user interface. So it does remove a huge amount of administration effort from our clients. As Anthony mentioned, you can scale up these secure agents, I think more cores, or you can group them in clusters for high availability, and so you have that scalability. Oh, it's also possible to have. I mentioned that we don't move data into our cloud. It's possible to have an agent within our cloud, but you don't have to do that. That's an option. So I mentioned that this year is a big year for Informatica with our cloud platform. This is because we've launched this new microservices-based architecture, and there's a whole range of different licensing options now. So then this is a completely new secure agent, a completely new environment for our cloud platform. And the idea is that all of Informatica's products can then be added in as if our customers wish to use them. So you see in some of the use cases there along the center part, and this is this integration base. So that connectivity, that broad range of connectivity to cloud, on-premise, whatever latency, real-time, batch. So that's always there. Then you have the different use cases up on top of that. So more advanced data integration, perhaps, the API and application integration, B2B, which is around EDI for exchanging data between partners. Also, like there's a hub approach where you can have like just a better way of managing large numbers of integrations in this sort of integration hub. And then there's various different add-ons that we have. And I thought I would share some pricing information with you, just as to illustrate the sort of pricing we're talking about. You can see there's different tiers depending on how complicated the connectivity is. You know, for instance, from going from simple connectivity from ODBC and JDBC through to more complex connectivity for enterprise applications, you know, for instance, things like SAP, you know, with the higher tiers, and then, you know, various different types of databases. So I wanted to share with you what we launched in spring, which is, you know, this is our new cloud platform, as I say, and just some of the new functionality in the, you know, that we've launched. It's a completely new user experience, a completely new user interface, and you know, there's various different features that we've launched. One of these features is to enable mass ingestion across multiple clouds. So, look, for instance, Amazon Web Services and Azure. So the idea here is you're able to scale your analytics with growing data volumes. So you can migrate enterprise scale data, migrate those assets to the cloud, maybe cloud data warehouses, you know, Redshift or something like that at bulk. And you can see there, this is a screenshot from our product here, the data integration interface. You can see there's a mass ingestion wizard. So this enables you to very easily, in a wizard-based approach, connect to your Amazon S3 bucket in this case using a particular connection, and then ingest multiple files, it could be thousands of files that you know, you might want to process into the Amazon S3 environment. So the whole idea is to make it really easy for you to do this using a wizard-based approach. And we're going to be expanding functionality here in the future to include databases, mainframes, application sources, also change data capture sources. So this is the first iteration of our mass ingestion process. Another area is change data capture. So this is something that Informatica has developed for quite a long time now in the on-premise world. The idea is with change data capture is you can just monitor, for instance, your database. Well, this is what we do with our change data capture tool. We'll monitor, for instance, database logs and just pull out the changes, the deletions, the additions, and modifications, and push those to the target, so rather than taking everything. So the idea is you minimize impact on your source systems with this log-based change data capture process. If customers do happen to have existing Informatica on-premise installations, then you know you can leverage those using our cloud platform. So we're making it as easy as possible for our customers to seamlessly integrate the change data into our cloud platform. Another area is supporting the multi-cloud and hybrid application integration. So I was talking in the earlier slides around more sort of batch data integration, although with change data capture, it's still sort of in batches, it's like micro batches. This is more around managing API traffic with real-time application integration across partners and customers. So we have this nice user interface which you can easily design and create and publish your APIs for integrating with your cloud applications. So it's a sort of it's a web-based tool. We can drag and drop the different components onto there and make those different API calls. Very easy to use, and it comes with really nice analysis tools, so you can see the traffic over certain periods of time and see how your API traffic is being managed. Yeah, I mean, I would say, one of the big differences with Informatica is we have a tool-based approach. We're trying to make it as easy as possible rather than doing hand coding. And talking of improving developer productivity by minimizing hand coding, we've launched our API management and gateway. So this enables you to track and monitor the activity for your APIs and the security logs. You're able to detect anomalies in the API usage, and if there's integrated monitoring tools, so you can check that out. And there's metadata-based discovery using those standards I mentioned on the slide, SWAG and WSDL. I should say, by the way, if anyone wanted to try out Informatica Cloud, it's very easy to do this. You can just sign up for a free account from our website if you want to see this interface for yourself, or speak to Agile, and then she'll be able to set up a demo for you. Another demonstration here is of our improved API management capability, and this enables you to well, really, this is empowering application developers with easy to design, create, and publish APIs for applications within the organization and across their partners, and also being able to manage, monitor, and control APIs via access control policies, filters. You might want to do rate limiting, authentications. So really, this is your control interface, your governance interface. And you can design and develop connectors within minutes to third-party applications. So that's a very straightforward process using our API manager. Yeah, and just some other examples here around creating composite service and data APIs using OData, REST, JSON, or SOAP. So basically what we're doing here is streamlining the process of API adoption, it's increasing the visibility of APIs, monitoring the ROI of APIs, and enabling the B2B partners and enterprise application developers to easily onboard and start using APIs. I mentioned one of the options is this integration hub. So the whole idea here is with the Cloud Integration Hub is if you have a lot of point-to-point integrations going from source to target, that can mean that you're hitting the sources more than you need to extract the same amount of the same data. So another approach would be to, say, extract the data once from somewhere like Salesforce and then store that in some sort of data store, which could be locally stored within your environment or within Informatica's cloud. It's up to you. And then you would have subscription services that will pull the data from that cache, if you like, and you can then use those as you desire. So it's making it more efficient rather than doing, in this example, you can see there's 4 different subscribers and 1 publisher from Salesforce, rather than having 4 different processes getting data out of Salesforce, which could cost quite a bit if you're doing that 4 times rather than just doing it once and then consuming it in those different ways. Again, this is all graphical, and we have quick start with accelerators and self-service wizards. So citizen integrators can use this. You don't have to have development skills to use any of these tools, actually. And this is event-driven, so you could publish something and then that could kick off subscription processes and handle real-time integration. And then just mentioning our B2B gateway. So this is handling this electronic data interchange format of messaging. This is actually from one of our sort of on-premise products that's used for this purpose. So it's allowing businesses to communicate with each other and exchange these EDI messages. For people in this environment who might know, it's EDI, X12, Edifact. They can be custom files. So this sort of solution can be used if you have a large number of partners, for instance, and you want to onboard them and manage them submitting data into your systems and just having a portal so they can do that. As with all of our products, there's a lot of out-of-the-box automation enabling you to handle these different EDI type messages automatically and parse them out and bring them into your environment. Then another thing to mention is in our we have this intelligent structure discovery tool. This is part of our, if you like, artificial intelligence that's part of our products. So you can parse things like log files, XML files, and pull out the structure. In this case, it's a log file, and it's suggesting a particular hierarchical structure. So this reduces development time and issues with doing dynamic parsing. Also, there's out-of-the-box mapping recommendations for existing models. So the whole idea here is you can be agile and dynamic. You can use this intelligent structure to match to existing models and just remove unnecessary steps so you don't have to do this manually. Using sort of complex development tools, we're doing the work for you, so speeding things up. And then, of course, it's important to understand if you've got a reasonably sized infrastructure, how is your environment operating? So we have this dashboard, which is called Intelligent Operational Insights. So this gives you this analytics into the different workflows, which could be our on-premise Power Center world, or it could be our cloud environment. You can look at things like the data being moved, the rows moved, how the data is changing over time, all of those sorts of good things. So it's enabling you to plan your infrastructure. Maybe you want to scale up certain areas in the cloud, add additional secure agents, that type of thing. So it's giving you that visibility. Also enabling you to troubleshoot and find any performance issues, identify workflows failing or missing your SLAs, that type of thing. So it's a key part of our enterprise functionality, having this operational insights environment. And then we have this comprehensive support for security and privacy standards. Our cloud region is in Europe, so we have our European data center with the metadata stored in our European data center. Like I mentioned, the data movement happens in your network anyway, so that's the major requirement from our customers. But sometimes even the metadata, they want that within the EU. So we have that. And then the way that we benchmark ourselves, if you can go to that URL if you want to check out our security certifications, that's trust.informatica.com. We benchmark ourselves against the likes of Salesforce, AWS, and Azure. So not really the other vendors in our other sort of software vendors or iPaaS vendors in our space. We benchmark ourselves, against the leading providers like Amazon and Microsoft. Yeah, if you know the old Informatica cloud interface, we've revamped it completely and changed it. So just so you can organize things better by ecosystem, by team, departments, integration patterns. So it's completely changed and we've made it a lot easier to use. That's what I'm saying here. And a lot more capabilities around security and role-based security, which you can administer all from the cloud-based interface. Okay, I mentioned connectivity then. So Informatica has been around 25 years, pretty sizable organization, over $1 billion in revenue. We connect to pretty much everything you can think of. And this is a huge amount of effort, of investment Informatica puts into our research and R&D investment into being able to keep up with all these different standards. If you just think of the Hadoop world, for instance, how quickly that changes and the different execution environments and different standards, and Informatica's on the case there, making sure we've got that connectivity and we can execute our jobs in the right manner to give our clients the best service. Yes, I mean, as mentioned at the start of the presentation, this generational market shift, and we're supporting that with the legacy on-premise connectivity, but also look for the new world with these like the Tableau and Power BI, the analytics space. So we've got that full connectivity. All right, I just want to then that was the summary of the cloud platform that we launched this year and the new interface. I just wanted to give you some use cases for Amazon Web Services, one of our key platforms that we work with. So we're seeing these different use cases here. Data warehouse modernization. So I mentioned earlier about Redshift, which is Amazon's data warehouse environment. So this is a huge use case for Informatica, is moving away from these on-premise data warehouses, which typically clients want to do this because if you think about something like I know, like a mail company like Royal Mail, when it comes to Christmas time, that's when they've had their huge spike in traffic. In fact, I think it's something like 90% of the load is around about the Christmas period. If they're using data warehousing, they would have to scale that up. Well, they wouldn't be able to scale it up if they had their own on-premise data warehouses. So with the cloud, the companies like that can scale up their data warehouses using Amazon Redshift and meet those spikes in demand without having to have equipment around in data centers, costing a lot of money to maintain when most of the time it isn't being used. So that's an example use of data warehouse modernization. Data lakes with Amazon S3. So it's about bringing in large amounts of data, more than the traditional data warehouse approach, and bringing that into this. Could be large amounts of log data, for instance, from web logs. You need to be able to ingest that, cleanse it, optimize it, also govern it. So you need to know who's involved in curating that data, when all the metadata associated with it, how it got there, which systems did it touch. So that's a pretty good use case for Informatica with our data lake environment. in cloud data migration. So of course, just moving your on-premises data and analytical workloads onto Amazon Web Services or other clouds like Azure. Master data management, another area, traditional on-premise area moving into Amazon Web Services. So mastering your valuable customer, product, supplier, and other data assets to create this trusted view of data. And also governing and securing your data on AWS. So what Informatica is finding increasingly is that customers want to be able to catalog their data and discover the data, traditional data quality sense. What data do we have? Profiling the data, what is in these the data stores that we have. Cleanse that data, standardize it, secure it within AWS. Okay, so there's some different use cases. And then, as your company is going through its journey to the cloud, it's also important to understand at what point you are in your journey. So, what you're looking to get out of the business of, are you looking to get out of the business of maintaining servers, or you wanting to re-architect your entire infrastructure to be more elastic, like I mentioned the sort of Royal Mail example, handle new exciting use cases, be cloud first, or as Anthony said, why not cloud? So these are some typical journeys we see customers taking. And then there's some different phases that you can take. I think we're quite moved on from the prototype phase, where customers are extending their infrastructure into the cloud. Maybe they've got an existing enterprise data warehouse, but they want to scale that up, with Amazon Redshift, or they want to, utilize Amazon's relational data store. There's also the sort of traditional lift and shift, which Informatica supports this way of using our products as well. And then, I suppose the final stage is to re-architect your solution. And here is showing more of a sort of an Informatica environment, so you don't need to have Informatica on-premise Power Center, so a sort of data integration product. But this would show, like, if you were using Informatica's product, how you could re-architect that environment, leverage our intelligent cloud services along with your existing Informatica investments, and gradually move your workloads to the cloud as time moves on. And I should mention that actually Informatica provides tools to enable our customers to migrate their existing on-premise Informatica on-premise infrastructure into the cloud. So this could be Informatica Power Centers and converting and migrating their existing mappings, which is the business logic that people develop within our tools, and migrating that to our cloud services. And we do have automated processes to enable them to do that, sort of scanning repositories and identifying the easiest to move mappings, and doing it in a sort of phased approach, just to make sure you're successful in that. So I just want to say thank you for your attention. That was the end of my presentation. I don't know if anyone has any questions at this stage.
Yeah, hi Stephen. So we did get a couple of questions throughout that, two specifically. So the first one was, is IDQ currently available in the cloud product?
That's not available at the moment, so that's going to be coming I think it's next year. I'd have to check on the release for that. But what you can do is you can take the data quality mappings that you've developed on premise, and then you can deploy them into the cloud. So whilst you don't have the data quality interface at the moment in our new platform that's coming, but you can use your on-premise data quality to do the development work and then run that using our cloud platform.
Okay, cool. Thank you, Stephen. So that kind of answers the second question as well. So is the functionality within the on-premise IDQ also available in cloud?
Not indirectly it is, yeah. So like I say, you can deploy those data quality mappings in using our cloud platform, but you're going to need to edit them and do the development work using the on-premise data quality, which actually is not a bad model really, because you have the it is a nice rich interface to do that development work, and then you can operationalize that using Informatica Cloud.
Okay, cool. Thank you very much, Stephen. If any more questions come through, I'll talk through them at the end and direct them into either Stephen or Anthony. So just to recap, guys, so we've been through the cloud first approach that Anthony's been supporting at JLL, and we've also talked through just then Informatica Cloud, its capabilities and how it supports a multi-cloud approach. So I'll do the final section of this and kind of wrap up for you guys, but this is going to be all about execution. How do you actually deliver this, and talk a little bit about our approach and how that's worked with JLL and our relationship with Informatica. So the first thing I want to take you guys through is who are Agile Solutions. So we're an organization that's been around for 16 years. We're headquartered in Glasgow. We're privately owned. We've had a relationship with Informatica for circa 14, 15 years. And recently, some of the hard work and the investments that Informatica and Agile have put together has meant that we were awarded EMEA Partner of the Year 2017, which we are very proud of. We're predominantly a UK-based consultancy, and the tricks in the name, our focus is around agile methodology, and we've got kind of three core areas. There's the data strategy, so helping organizations take value out of data. There's our data domain experience and maturity, so we've got a agile information management framework that supports business agility and delivering value to the business, and also partner technology. So we work with a number of partners, including Informatica, such as IBM, SAS, and so on. And if you want any questions about what we do elsewhere, then feel free to ask me some questions. So that's who we are. So here's who we help in the cloud and what we actually do. So we work with a number of organizations, but I picked four that were really quite key in terms of cloud technology. So we work with an organization called Crest Nicholson, that's a house builder. And they're an organization that was transitioning from an on-premise legacy IT architecture to a hybrid cloud. So we worked with them to help identify tooling, designing their new architecture, delivering that architecture, managing the scrums of delivery, support, and we also acted as the reseller. So Crest are using the Informatica Cloud product. We also work with the Home Office, and this is based more around delivering digital capabilities and platform as a service. So within the Home Office, we support them within DevOps. We're helping them define their support architecture for their platform as a service. We're delivering functionality to the business. We're providing 24/7 support. We're involved in their platform as a service, which is Amazon Web Services, and we're helping them automate their infrastructure to scale as user demand increases for their applications. We work with Sage, and Sage is another Informatica Cloud customer. So the main predominant thing there is supporting their digital strategy. So they've got a vision for 2020 where a lot of their applications are going to be moving to the cloud. We're helping designing some of that. We're helping delivering it. We're doing some of the business analysis around that. And Sage are using Informatica Cloud to connect their hybrid cloud together, and we're acting as the Informatica specialist at Sage. Sky. we're also working with Sky, where we're helping on the design and delivery, and similar to Sage, Sky have a digital strategy for 2020, and we're supporting that. We're acting as the Informatica specialists. We're helping in terms of the infrastructure automation similar to the Home Office, and allowing Sky to take advantage of platform as a service who are currently utilizing the Google Cloud platform. So that's kind of, I guess, our sheet of some of our customers that we're working with in the cloud and how we're supporting them. But fundamentally, what we do is we support organizations to do a number of things. So it might be reducing cost of time delivery, enabling self-service, increasing infrastructure agility, allowing elastic resource management, implementing stronger security, driving data democratization. Sorry guys, it's pretty hard for me to say that one. Enabling scaling technology, future-proofing it, adapting to new data services, modernizing application architecture through microservices, driving down cost, driving digital transformations, enabling user-based pricing, etc., etc. So I won't read them all, but this is what our core focus is within the cloud space, and this is what we're trying to drive the advantages and the value, most importantly, to the businesses. But one of the challenges that we often find with some of our clients, that cloud can be complex. There's a number of tools and technology into how you manage this stuff, how you collaborate together, how you build the technology, how you test it, how you deploy it, and how you run it. You know, there's a number of different cloud infrastructure and platform as a service organizations, and it's a similar slide to what Stephen showed earlier, but coming in fresh to cloud can be quite complex and can be difficult to understand where to start, where to get the best gains from, etc. And one of the things that Stephen mentioned that resonates really well with our Agile Solutions message is understanding where you guys are in the journey. So what Agile Solutions do is they have basically utilize the cloud maturity model. So we work with a number of organizations that may have legacy IT, they may be operating hybrid in the cloud, they may be utilizing platform as a service, or they may be delivering digital capabilities, and they may be doing that in parts of their organization or across their entire organization. And Agile Solutions help organizations to understand where they are in the journey, and how mature are they. So I won't talk through all of these, but what I will focus in on is this cloud maturity model. So there are many organizations that haven't yet adopted the cloud, so they might be using legacy applications on dedicated infrastructure. They may not have a cloud approach, and we help those organizations to go to that first step of the maturity model. So understanding your current architecture environment, how cloud ready are you, and help building that awareness of cloud computing and how it can be implemented in small groups to deliver value and start to document. We then work with organizations that once they're at that point and they're ready to move to the next step, and they've got that cloud approach has been defined, is working through identifying benefits and delivering benefits realized through leverage infrastructure. So a perfect example of that would be to say, for example, I'm only running X number of batches overnight, and I'm now turning off that compute power during the day because it's no longer necessary. And you're then getting those capability gains, and you can then have the ability to scale quickly and choose when launching new applications into the business. Do I take a cloud approach, or do I take an on-premise approach? And similar to what Anthony said there in terms of why not cloud? We work with organizations that once you're at that point to move on to how do we automate it? So how can we get this cloud strategy across the organization? How can we take advantage of combining infrastructure and operations and creating a DevOps culture? And how can we document it and therefore gain efficiency? Model 4 is the kind of manual federation. So, and what we often find is that a lot of these organizations may have parts that are at the cloud maturity model 4, and other parts may be at cloud maturity model 0, depending on how the organization is structured. But 4 is basically looking at manual federation. So cloud applications are deployed according to the business requirements, and all the governance is in place, so that when you're releasing applications or digital capabilities such as analytics or IoT or big data solutions, the governance is already there, and that allows you to increase velocity and quality. And you're enabled to increase quality through the automation, so using things like automated testing, etc., and allowing more of your IT organization to act as developers, and empowering those developers. And finally, having that enterprise IT as a service, which is the vision for many organizations, but may not be quite there. So it's a federated but also open cloud. So it's incrementally being approved, it's consistently being proactively maintained, and it's across the organization. So that's the journey that we see a lot of organizations taking, and that's where we see that a lot of organizations want to go. But what I'll talk about now is how do we actually go about delivering that? And there's 3 key areas that we do that in. That's within the strategy, within the implementation, and within the management of it. So we work with organizations to assess that maturity. Where are you now? Where do you want to be? We support in developing that operating model. So how would we potentially migrate some of these applications across? How can we use DevOps tooling across the organization to deliver this? How do we look at security where it's security by design and it's consistently being automated? How can we use application modernization like microservices architecture to deliver our applications quicker and more securely? And what kind of tooling do we need to use? What platform as a service providers do we want to use? Do we want to use AWS? Do we want to use Google? What are the differences between them? Or maybe Azure is the best option. And what kind of tooling do you need? So, and prime example, obviously, as a partner of Informatica Cloud, we're big advocates of using that tooling in place where connecting the dots together. And what kind of automation tooling do we need? And effectively, that we kind of see as a develop and building that strategy, and then it's implementing it. So how do we actually transform and migrate across to that? So how do we manage that journey? How do we deliver that migration? How do we actually deliver the application modernization and the DevOps services associated to that? And it may even be that you're looking to do, for example, a POC within a new application that you launch into the business. How can we develop that within the cloud natively? And the services that wrap around platform as a service. So how do we capacity manage it? How do we ensure that the security is up to date and that we're got the governance around it, etc.? And then, that kind of filters into the management. So how do we optimize what we have? How do we ensure that the operations of our cloud is functional and working and the security is being proactively managed? And what we're doing at the Home Office sits quite heavily within application management. So now that we've released this application to the business, how do we consistently maintain it and manage it and support it, whether that's first, second, or third line support? And that's effectively what Agile Solutions do, working in collaboration with Informatica and JLL. And that, guys, is the end of my slides. So if there's any questions that you would like to ask in either how JLL are utilizing cloud first approach and Informatica, or ask Stephen anything around the Informatica tooling, or ask us around how we execute along the cloud maturity model, please feel free to ask now and we'll pick them up. Stephen, Anthony, would you guys like to add anything?
Not from me. Sorry, go on, Anthony.
I was just saying, as Seb stated, we've worked with Agile Solutions and the Informatica suite for 4 or 5 years now, and it's a very happy marriage, and we're progressing and increasing our use of the cloud tools as we embark on our cloud first, or why not cloud journey, and it's been a very pleasant and good experience. So just
Appreciate Anthony. Yeah, it's been great working with JLL. We've worked with them for 4 years, and Anthony's been there throughout the entire engagement, and we've been helping them implement some of their, when we're looking back at those case studies, acting as that kind of Informatica specialist and helping take advantage of some of the Informatica tooling, which has been great, and it's been great to see some of the value that's been driven down to the business because of that.
Yeah, okay. I think one thing I would add, just I don't know whether I mentioned this, but I did say that our cloud service is available if people can just sign up for an account and try it out. Obviously, Agile are here to help you through, what can be quite a complex world. We're trying to make things as open as possible at Informatica, so we've created something called Success Academy. It used to be called Cloud Academy. Now it's more general, success with all of our products. But we make the training available for our cloud products free on that. I mean, if you just Google Success Academy Informatica, you'll find it. That's free to everyone really who wants to try things out, do some sort of simple integrations, and see how easy the product is to use. Obviously, it can get more complex, and that's where we've got Agile's expertise as one of our valued partners. So.
Yeah, no, that makes sense, Stephen, and yeah, we've got a great working relationship with Informatica, so and working with them, and Agile invested a lot into the Informatica relationship by really enabling our consultancy base to understand their technology, and so we've got a large Informatica practice with a large skill base within the cloud technology in particular. So we did have a question actually that popped up, and I'm just trying to work out who to direct this to. I'm guessing it's to you, Anthony. The question is, what were the challenges faced during bringing in cloud at JLL, and what support was available to JLL to overcome these challenges?
So the cloud journey itself and the migration of cloud was based on a legacy on-premise applications and a modernization program, and modernization of the organization in general. So we took the approach of, we have these legacy applications that probably aren't fit for cloud, and so we took the approach to investigate and implement either kind of real estate niche providers or build, so the classic buy or build type questions. We drove that forward. In terms of our implementation of Informatica cloud services, the initial engagement and the initial setup was done with Agile resources, came in and set up the environment to make sure that everything was following best practice, and the secure agents were set up in the right way, and the design was done. That was done as part of the package, I guess, of purchasing Informatica Cloud. And then as we've progressed on through, we've used Agile Solutions in kind of like a resource as a service type approach, where we have a specific project or a project need, and we'll get them in to provide support on the project and deliver the Informatica Cloud expertise that we need. We're also using them as some of their other services around some data analysts. We're currently doing an IDQ proof of concept and validation exercise. So we've used Agile Solutions as a resource partner and an implementation specialist to support our cloud journey and our progression in our hybrid architecture and our drive towards cloud and cloud integrations.
Yeah, no,
hopefully that answered the question.
Yeah, that's a really good answer, Anthony, and I'll probably add a bit from our perspective there. You know, in terms of the way that Agile Solutions can engage with organizations is on a number of different models, and what's really worked well at JLL is you know, once they're adopting that new technology, helping them implement it and get the best practices out of it, and then, you know, as and when their requirements pop up to take advantage further of Informatica Cloud, that's when we drive through. So and that's one of our models that's been really effective at JLL, whereas in some of our other clients we have a slightly different engagement model. So where we work with, for example, Crest Nicholson, they did a similar process to JLL, where they went to market and did an RFP to work out, you know, similar to what JLL in terms of the Gartner Magic Quadrant, and got the kind of the top tools in place that they wanted to understand if that could fit within their architecture and help them deliver their hybrid cloud capabilities and connecting all the dots together. And that's how we worked with Crest to help them understand how Informatica would work within their architecture, helping them design it, and then implementing it. So they've got the best value, and then enabling them to take over that management and ownership of Informatica Cloud. So yeah, really good points there, Anthony. Any other questions? I'm just having a look here. It looks like that is all of the questions. And we are running on time, 14 minutes early. So if I'll give everyone a minute or two to ask any questions if they'd like to. If not, we'll end it here. But I just want to thank everyone for taking some time out this morning to listen and watch the webinar and find out a bit more information about how JLL are utilizing Informatica and how Informatica are developing their cloud product and the roadmap of that technology, and how we, Agile Solutions, are implementing said technology. Yeah, so I think we'll call it there. Doesn't seem to be any more additional questions. So Anthony, Stephen, thank you very much for taking the time out this morning. Really appreciated, and thank you for everyone that attended. And I wish everyone a good rest of their day.